What to do after you make your first sale. The amount of coaching programs I've joined that simply just talk about getting more leads, making more sales, and yet once they make the sale, everybody's celebrating, yeah, man, you made your sale, congrats. But rarely do they talk about what to do after you make your first sale, right? And this is not just your first sale, but this is just sales in general because the reality is someone is investing in you with their time or with their money. So whether you're doing it for free, whether you're doing it for 1K, 10K, 100K, you should be able to respect that. And in Islam, you give them their haqq, which is basically you give them their right, right? So this is something that's super, super important. I'm going to talk about what to do after you make your first sale. And I'm going to talk about this based on the community management aspect. If you land your first client for your coaching, for your community, whatever it may be, right? Even for your digital product. So the first thing is setting the frame. Why this is important, right? We always talk about getting your first sale, getting your first sale, getting your first sale, but that's not necessarily the hard part. Yes, it's a hard part because it's more of a mindset shift. It's like a mindset thing where you make a sale. It's like, oh wow, like I didn't think someone would actually pay me money to do this, right? But the real work actually starts after the sale because now you've been entrusted with someone's in money, someone's income, someone's hard-earned cash, right? To help them get results. And this is where businesses either build long-term clients or they lose trust fast, right? So if you are just focused on the revenue, then yes, you will get the revenue eventually. But because you're not focused on the actual client experience and you're not focused on actually getting your clients results, your reputation won't be great. Like, yes, people will be like, oh yeah, he's making 10K, he's making 50K, he's making 100K. But the reality is you're not fulfilling for your clients. So this is something that's super, super important, especially if you are building something for the long term, right? And not just for the sake of money. Yes, we all want money. Money is how we live. Of course, that's how we provide for our families. But at the end of the day, remember that you are fulfilling for your client, right? So getting the sales is the easy is I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a process. But keeping that trust is the real skill. So when you get a new client, what you want to do is you want to frame your mindset, reframe your mindset, right? Whether it's a client, even if it's your employer, you're a 9 to 5 job, right? A business that you're supporting, whatever it may be, you want to treat every client like a partnership and not like I got paid, I'm done. Or you start celebrating, you start either going out, just give me everyone stuff, just celebrating. No, partnership mindset is you show up fully, they show up fully, you got to set the expectations, and then the results require both sides, right? I'll do everything I can to help you, but only if you're willing to help yourself. This is something that's super, super common, right? Because when you get clients, not all of your clients are going to be willing to, like, a lot of clients are just going to join whatever you're doing. They're going to invest, and they're going to expect, like, oh, like that you do the heavy lifting, especially if it's a done for you service. Even if it's a done for you service, they still have to fulfill on their end. There's certain things that they have to fulfill, right? If it's a done with you, then you give them the information, you help them, you guide them, but at the end of the day, it's up to them to actually really go get the results, right? So it has to be both sides. That's why I always emphasize finding the right clients and working with the right people, because once you work with the right people, honestly, it feels really effortless, right? The communication is solid. Yes, you'll have your ups, you'll have your downs. It's normal with everything, but it's just so much more of a seamless process. It's just so like I'd rather make less working with a few clients than having a bunch of clients and like majority of them aren't. Most of them won't show up, but it's like a headache working with them. So this is something that's super, super important. Now let's go into the more practical stuff. And the first thing is getting a contract, right? Make sure you sign a contract. Like, you create the contract or they create the contract. Typically, it'd be better if you created the contract or you both did it together, right? If you're running a business, then you're going to create the contract, right, for your client, right? And it's not because you don't trust people, but it's because clarity protects both sides, right? And a good contract sets expectations, defines the scope, so what you're doing, it outlines responsibilities, and it prevents confusion later, right? Contracts don't create problems, they prevent them, right? And this is just expectations, what's meant to be done. And if, for example, if your client starts asking for more stuff, then you can say, okay, well, this in the contract is, it shows this. So if you want to do this, then I'll want to get compensated more, right? So this is how it is. Now, this is the key here, honestly. The first 7 to 14 days are critical for your clients, for your customers, whatever it may be, right? Now, this is where a lot of the churn will happen, and this is where a client has high dopamine, right? They're like, okay, I just joined. They're excited, right? But this is also a point where a lot of customers or clients are nervous because maybe they spent 5K, maybe they spent 3K, right? Even if it's $50, right? They spent money towards something that that's not visible to, like, it's not visible, right? If I buy something to eat, I know that I can eat that because it's right in front of me. If I buy clothes, I know that clothes are right in front of me, right? If I invest into a community or I invest into coaching, that's not visible yet, right? So you're kind of just putting your trust, in a way, it's kind of tawakkul, right? You're just kind of putting your trust in Allah, and you're hoping that things work out. So this is where it's key to really really onboard your clients, right, in the best way possible, right? And if you don't, they're going to mentally check out. They're going to say, well, this is not what I expected. You want them to go into your community or your whatever product you have and think, oh, this is a lot more than I thought. Like, this is deep. This is a lot more than I thought, right? One of the communities I manage, we have a ton of group calls now, right? And when clients come in, they're like, "This is more than I thought." They thought it was just like just a coaching program, just with whatever we have. But no, we have more, right? We have a whole community. So this is super, super important, right? Strong onboarding. Onboarding will do almost 70% of the work. I just put that number there, but it really does do a lot of the work. If you have strong onboarding, smoother delivery, weak onboarding, constant problems. People are going to be asking questions, not going to be knowing what to do. And that's going to be super, super, it's going to be confusing for the clients, right? So your onboarding should welcome them properly, explain how things work, show where to start, and outline what they are responsible for, right? So this could be through an onboarding call, this can be onboarding video, onboarding doc, or you can combine all three and you can do something along those lines. If you're just starting off, you might want to just do an onboarding call simply because you may have a little bit more time. It'll help you understand your clients a little bit more. And this is something that could be helpful, right? Because you want data, you want information. When you have your first sale, what you want to do is you want to gather as much information as possible from your client, right? So this is something that's super, super, super important. You want to have as much information as possible. So the next thing is set expectations early. So this is giving their haq, but also make sure that you have your right as well, right? So this is giving clients their haq, which means honesty, clarity, and boundaries, right? Setting out boundaries. Be clear about what you do, what you don't do, response times, and how results are achieved, right? So I do something for a certain client, and I mentioned now that if anybody joins after it's like, I think Saturday end of day, I don't onboard any more clients because I do help with the onboarding. So that's basically what it is, and make very very small exceptions, but you make it clear on what you're gonna do, what you won't do or you can't do, and you just make it super clear with your client, right? Some clients, yes, you're gonna have some clients that are gonna maybe they're gonna be a little at their first couple clients are gonna be a little more hands on because you're figuring out your system, you're trial and error, you're learning. So that's gonna be something there. But as long as you're showing up, right, you're giving them, you're doing your best to give them results. That's just the key, right? Just give your best to give them the result that they came to you for, right? And if you can give them more, then they're gonna be a future testimonial. They're gonna want to buy more from you, right? So this is super super key. So don't over promise on the sales call. Over promising, this is something that we've been experiencing with a few of our communities, right? If you over promise, then clients will expect it, and obviously they should, because that's what they've been told, right? So be as honest as possible. You don't have to hype up what you're doing. You don't have to say, oh, I'm gonna give this, I'm gonna do that. No, 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 no. Just be honest, be realistic, right? I would even say, like, under promise, right? Just tell them straight up, or just speak about the result, speak about the pain point, and speak about the result that they want, right? And then you over deliver, right? It's better to surprise the client than to disappoint them. And that's why sometimes it's even fine for you to go in, you give them as much value as possible. And then at some point, you just pitch them on what you have. They already know what you do, and you set those expectations, right? This is super, super key. and focus on getting them a quick win. This is like super, super key. Give them a quick win, right? Give them a quick win. If you can give them a quick win, it's gonna just build momentum, right? Build momentum, build momentum, right? When someone sees progress in their fitness journey, what happens? They're gonna tell themselves, "Hey, I want to keep going. 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 I want to keep going." Right? And they may end up running a half marathon and then eventually a whole marathon, right? And then Ironman. Who knows, right? But they get so like it becomes a little addicting, right? So they when they come to you every time there's a quick win, quick win, quick win, quick win, and this is something I can talk about later. Is ask your clients, like emphasizing the wins to your clients. Okay, we got this win, we got this win, we got this win, right? Because small wins compound. We often look at what's not going right, what's not working. Well, you just focus on quick wins, quick wins, quick wins. Okay, if you get quick wins, it's again, it's one step at a time, one day at a time, right? It's like the Allah loves these that are small but consistent. It compounds, right? So this is super super important. Early wins build belief, and belief keeps clients committed, right? So this is super super key. And then another thing, this is the last thing I'll say is expect things to be manual at first, especially if you have your first client. Right now I'm just speaking to people who are have their first client. So the early days are going to be messy, and that's normal. You're building the systems as you go. And what matters is that you're paying attention, you're improving, you're learning from every client, and just be as transparent as possible. Be a human being. Out like the person across from you is a human being, right? Sometimes we think, oh yeah, I made a sale. Oh, this is my client. It sounds cool to have clients, right? But no, that's not what it is. I remember like people always pitch like on Instagram, like, oh, getting more leads, and it's great to get more leads. Of course, you want to make sales. That's going to be your income. But if you can't deliver on that, there's no point. There's more baraka getting one client, an amazing, amazing win, than getting a bunch of clients that are paying you and like people aren't getting results. People are just joining. Like I had a friend who got into someone's coaching program. It wasn't even that much. It was like $25, I think, a week or something like that. And the guy wasn't even fulfilling for him. He was like, I think he was supposed to be like an accountability coach for something specific. He wasn't fulfilling. And then my friend was like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like he just disappeared. Like, and I don't know what's going on. Odds are he probably just didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to fulfill. He maybe he took on too many clients, and this is a thing. Yes, it will come to a point where you may need to hire people. You may need to build your team, or your client may have to build their team, because especially if you're in my space and you're a community manager or you operate in communities, then they obviously have their own business. They have their sales team. They have a lot of things going, right? These are for them. But the key here is you want to make sure that that you can fulfill for them, and this is something I'm super super big on, right? So manual first, and then your systems are going to be built later, and that's how the real businesses are built. And every single business that I've been working on, community that I've worked on, it's the exact same thing. Like we build slowly but surely, and then once we get a certain amount of clients, boom, then we build the systems, we get things going, and yeah, we go from there. So again, the sale isn't the finish line. It's just the start of a responsibility. It's a amana. It's a haq, right? So you want to make sure that you give your clients their haq. Okay. Now, if you care about client experience and doing things properly, this is the work that I focus on. So you can check out the links down below. Whatever is currently there is what is currently available. You may maybe book a call with me if you're genuinely serious. It's not free. Uh, yes, and that's what it is. Okay. So and then whatever is there at the bottom, like you can check it out. But hopefully that answers some of your questions. I know this is something that people just don't talk about enough, like what to do after you make your first sale, right? This is like super key, and I can go deeper into this if you ever want me to go deeper into this. Let me know. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks again. Jazakallah khair. Peace.